He was born into wealth, but not into wisdom or empathy. He wore arrogance like a second skin. And money? That was his weapon of choice. He didn't chase love. He bought loyalty. He didn't win respect. He demanded it. He didn't understand boundaries. He owned them. Until one night, a single sentence challenged everything he believed. A cruel bet, a woman who wasn't supposed to matter, and a lesson that would cost him everything. Because the day Adrian Blackwell said "I do" was the day his empire began to rot from the inside. Adrian Blackwell was a man who never lost. Not in business, not in boardrooms, and certainly not in games of ego. At a rooftop party high above Dubai, the kind only the ultra-elite even knew existed, he was surrounded by smoke, laughter, and designer lies. Everyone wanted his approval, everyone except Victor Sloan. Victor, his longtime friend, leaned against the balcony, swirling a glass of whiskey. His voice cut through the noise. "Tell me, Adrian, what would it take to make you uncomfortable?" Adrian didn't look at him. He didn't need to. His smirk said it all. "Nothing. I've seen it all. Done it all." Victor raised an eyebrow. "Would you marry someone unattractive? Someone who doesn't fit your image?" Adrian turned his head, amused. "You mean fat?" Victor didn't flinch. "I mean someone real, not a doll, not a product." Adrian chuckled, loud enough to turn heads. "For $1 million? I'd marry a cow in a dress." Laughter echoed. But Victor's eyes didn't blink, because he already had her name, Sophia Carter, and Adrian had just signed his own downfall. Sophia Carter wasn't conventionally attractive, at least not by society's brutal standards. She was intelligent, independent, unbothered, a tenured literature professor who dressed in practical clothes, wore no makeup, and made no effort to hide her curves. When she walked into that luxury restaurant to meet Adrian, she didn't hesitate. She walked past the stairs, past the judgment, and sat down at his table like she was the one interviewing him. "You're the man who bets with people's lives," she said, not as an insult, but as a statement of fact. Adrian raised an eyebrow. "And you're the woman who accepted the role?" She smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "I'm the woman who plans to make this the biggest regret of your life." He froze just a moment, then forced a smile. "Confident for someone who's already agreed to be my wife." "Agreed to play a part," she corrected. "But I wrote the script. You just don't know it yet." That night, Adrian couldn't sleep. He didn't know why, but something felt wrong. He didn't know she was already dismantling him, one brick at a time. The wedding was quick. No flowers, no friends, no smiles. Just a courthouse, 2 signatures, and one silent car ride back to a penthouse neither of them wanted to share. Sophia set the tone early. Separate bedrooms, no intimacy, no lies. Adrian laughed. "You're really playing this part hard." "I'm not playing," she said, unpacking her single bag. "I'm existing. Around you, not for you." He expected a woman desperate for his attention. What he got was a woman who didn't even look at him unless it was necessary. And that was infuriating. Adrian tried gifts first. A Cartier bracelet, a black card with no limit, weekend getaways to Paris, a custom wardrobe tailored to her measurements. She refused every single one. "Do you think money fixes character?" she asked once without raising her voice. He tried humiliation next. Brought her to a gala. Let his friends whisper. Let the photographers capture angles that made her look less. She stood there smiling politely, correcting every mispronounced name with grace. "You invited me here to be embarrassed," she whispered to him. "But I'm not the one shrinking. You are." He had never felt smaller in a room full of people applauding him, and that terrified him. Adrian wasn't used to silence, and now his entire home echoed with it. Sophia moved like she wasn't there. And yet, everything about her presence changed the atmosphere. She didn't shout, didn't fight, didn't run. She observed. And while Adrian plotted ways to regain control, she was already 2 steps ahead. She made allies of the staff, the maid, the chef, even the cold, calculated driver Adrian barely acknowledged. They spoke to her with ease. They stopped reporting to him. She found his passwords. not to steal, but to watch, to understand how his kingdom was built and where its cracks lay. Adrian began missing meetings. Investors withdrew. Rumors spread, not about her, but about him. He's distracted, off his game, slipping. What he didn't know was that every piece of his fall was being moved by a woman he barely noticed at the altar. And that was her power. She didn't destroy him loudly. She made him destroy himself. One rainy night, Adrian cornered her in the kitchen. She was making tea, humming softly. "Tell me the truth," he said. She didn't look up. "About what? Why are you here? Really?" She set the kettle down, turned to face him. "You destroyed my father." Silence. "Carter Publishing, 5 years ago. You bought it, dismantled it, and left him with nothing." Adrian blinked, slowly, remembering. "He took his own life," she added, calm, controlled, devastating. "I was pregnant when he died." Adrian's breath caught. "I lost the baby. From grief, from stress, from shame." "You didn't just end a man, Adrian. You ended everything connected to him." She walked past him, gently. "This marriage? It's not revenge. It's reflection. You're not being punished by me. You're just finally seeing who you really are." And Adrian, for once, had no words. Adrian stopped sleeping. He stopped scheming. He started watching, like she once did. Board members withdrew. Shareholders voted him out of key decisions. Headlines changed from praise to pity. Tech genius slipping? Billionaire's instability worries investors. He still had money, but no command. Still had a name, but no loyalty. He looked around his penthouse one evening and realized every object was expensive, and every moment inside it was empty. Sophia didn't gloat. She offered him dinner, simple meals, quiet grace. He began to ask questions about her father, her dreams, her pain. And for the first time, he listened, really listened, and something in him cracked. He started making calls, not to regain power, but to make things right. He returned shares he had stolen, paid debts he thought were buried, visited families whose businesses he ruined. No cameras, no PR, just a man, finally becoming human. Sophia noticed. She didn't forgive, but she softened. They began eating together, reading in silence. She started smiling, not for him, but because she no longer needed to pretend. And one morning, Adrian looked at her across the breakfast table and whispered, "Thank you." It wasn't enough, but it was a start. "There's something you don't know," Sophia said one night. He turned to her, bracing himself. "Before the miscarriage, I was going to leave him, my father. I blamed him for everything, for the way he gave in, for being weak." She took a breath. "And when you destroyed him, I felt guilty, like I'd cursed him by turning my back." Tears welled, but didn't fall. That guilt turned into purpose. "I thought, if I could destroy you, maybe the world would balance itself." She looked at him now, not with anger, but exhaustion. "But revenge doesn't bring peace, it just delays pain." Adrian stood in silence, not defending himself, not justifying, just absorbing the truth and loving her for her honesty. Months passed. Adrian changed, not because he lost, but because he finally understood. He didn't buy her flowers. He planted them in a garden she could see from her office window. Didn't plan another wedding. He asked, quietly, without pressure, "Will you stay? Not because you're winning, but because we're healing." Sophia didn't answer that day, but one morning she slid a small box across the table. Inside were a pacifier. He looked up, shocked. She nodded. "This time, it's ours." He married her for a bet, to win, to mock, to dominate. And in the end, she turned the tables, with grace, with silence, with truth. What do you think? Would you forgive someone like him? Or would you make them suffer until the end? Drop your answer in the comments. And if this story shook you, share it. Someone out there needs to hear it.